It's the late afternoon of March 27, and I have completed bending all four rails the same way, meaning the same spacing, the same number of pumps. And actually what that works out to is I put 8 pumps every 6 inches using my hydraulic pump. So once you decide how stiffly you'd like to make or how tight you'd like to make your radius, you can experiment by initially putting in, I don't know, X amount of pumps every 2 feet. Then after you've seen the progress, put another set of the same pumps, or maybe more or just less, in between each of those. So that would give me a 1 foot spacing. After you've seen how that progresses, then you can go in between each of those. So that puts you at about every 6 inches. Every 6 inches gives you a really nice clean curve instead of looking lumpy or kinky. So I'm looking for the smoothest curve possible, and that works out to about 6 inches. Sounds like a lot of work, but once you get started, it doesn't really take as long as you think. So let's take a quick review as to where we are. So when I first start my layout, I start with a piece of PVC and get a general idea of what I want my shape to be. The larger the diameter of PVC, the slighter the radius that the pipe wants to bend, so it makes it a lot easier. So if I used 1/2 inch PVC here, you'd have all sorts of little kinks in it in order to, to make this corner. So I used 1 inch pipe here. 1 1/4 would probably have worked best, but I didn't have it available, so I didn't go that route. So I start with a pair of green lines, doesn't matter what, and you can actually see there's just a hint of green right here. And then here you can actually see both sides of where the 1 inch PVC was. Once that's done, then I go ahead and I start looking at, well, what is my border gonna look like? And then for this case, in the past, on the previous part of the rail, I've had, as long as the rail is embedded in, in driveway, I put a 6 inch border on both sides, and then fill in the center, of course. So with I guess really the design happens, it's kind of, it starts over here, getting an idea of, well, this would be a nice 6 inch border right here. Maybe I can try carrying, I'm gonna spin around. Maybe I can try carrying that 6 inch border all the way to where at some point it needs to diverge a little bit, because this wall, the radius changes a little bit, and I've already got my rail in place, which is, it's a run that goes straight through the pavilion, or I guess you could say the truck port or carport. So once I realized that I want my border a certain way, well, then I came through and I marked a red line that my 6 inch stone will come right up to this edge, and on the rail, this is exactly, so I keep the outside of my rail somewhere between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch. And to you railroaders out there, that probably sounds pretty tight, but nothing's really going on that side. So it'll get filled in with polymeric sand anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So where are we right now? So if we take a look at the far side, we still haven't gotten quite far enough. This rail needs to be very close to, or just lightly on top of, this red line. And when I gauge this track, I'll probably have to put a little less angle on the outside, because if you think about it, the outside has a slightly larger radius. So if I put the same kind of bend on a really tight radius, you can absolutely tell that it's a challenge to, you've got to put a lot less pumps on the outside than you do on the inside. So what I did first, so I was having a little issue here, and although it sounds counterintuitive, one of the things that I did was I noticed that I had that this inside rail kissed the green line a little bit, and it was not it was not shown here, poked out here, and then on the far side right here, it was showing not enough bend. So like I said, although it sounds counterintuitive, the first thing that it did was I put a counter kink. I opened up this radius a little bit so it would turn to the right, which exposes all of the green line. And then now I can selectively choose where I want to add a little bit of a tightening. And what I've done on the rest of this rail, as I explained in the beginning, I already have bends in every 6 inches. So I'm not going to want to bend every 6 inches or 12 inches. I'll probably want to put the same number of pumps, like another 8 pump. I'll probably start out by putting an 8 pump in here and then move 3 feet and mark it again. And I will see how just a few more of these 8 pumps changes my radius enough to see whether it'll actually hold the lines that I first penciled in.